The Dearborn Independent, Chronicler of the Neglected Truth, April 16, 1927, Volume 27, Number 26. Mr. Ford's page of the Dearborn Independent, Camel-Swallowers. Comparatively few are able to pick out the things that matter and discard the things that don't. Some will make a fuss about little things and swallow big things to pass without a murmur. It is such individuals that Scripture referred to as straining at nuts and swallowing camels. Nations as well as individuals are led into committing costly mistakes through failure to judge between that which is essential and that which is not. A sense of proportion must be an element in the formation of sound judgment, but foresight and restraint are equally necessary when decisions have been arrived at if they are to be made effective. Men strain at nuts and swallow camels. At the present day, the country is full of camel-swallowers, of people who make no end of a fuss about petty things and swallow things that really matter to pass unnoticed. It has been said that small minds are only capable of taking notice of small things. They cannot grasp things that are worthwhile. A child is content with a toy that one of more mature years would discard. Trifles are magnified into treasures and mountains made into molehills. No doubt men strain at nuts because nuts are about the only thing that they can comprehend. The camel is more in their line to swallow because it is so big that they cannot see it. It escapes their notice owing to its very bulk. The vastness of its shadow dulls their faculties, and therefore it disappears in the obscurity of their mentality before they're aware of the fact. But little things? Oh, little things are a different matter. Little things can be threatened and bullied and made a fuss about, and held up to scorn and not allowed to get past on any account. They're looked at through the magnifying glasses of ignorance and prejudice, and are held up in the light of muddle-headedness. The nuts is a thing to be bullied and resisted. The camel is a different story. One is afraid of a camel because it may kick or bite if it doesn't get its way. Therefore, it gets its own way. It is allowed to get by. Camel swallowing may be called by another name, lack of judgment. It is the want of the power to discriminate. This is where a good many otherwise intelligent men fall down. They cannot tell the difference between a mountain and a molehill. Many people are unable to discern the small black patch in the clear sky that denotes the approach of a storm. They cannot tell from the small fragment of azure on a lowering sky that better weather is at hand. They're deaf and blind alike to the signs that nature has provided for the guidance of mankind. They're deaf and blind to the signs of the times. Their perception is dulled and their discernment is obscured. Why is it that man cannot learn the lesson of the things that matter? A school for teaching the things that matter would be a benefit to the whole nation. A professor of things that matter would be a good substitute in many of our colleges for the swarms of professors of things that don't matter the flick of a fly's wing. Let us think of bigger things and swallow them if we will, but see that we digest them properly. But there are big ideas and little ideas. It is a common thing to hear people say, "What is the big idea?" This has become the tritest of the trital question, but it is a question that has been put all through the centuries. Most of the world's inhabitants put it to the Noah when he started to build the ark. They thought the patriarch had become mentally dumb, but he went on with the building just the same. If he had been planning a canoe or a dugout, their comprehension would have been clear, but the ark was too much for them. This big idea was a sound idea. It was an inspiration which the small minds of the critics could not understand. It was beyond the limit the Camel-Swallowers could go. Therefore, in their confusion and mystification, they condemned it. It is this inability to discern the difference between what is small and what is great that clouds the mentality of legislators and politicians. They will swallow a costly scheme because it comes within the limits of their understanding, but because they lack sufficient foresight to appraise its possibilities, good or bad, the result is frequently disastrous. On the other hand, politicians will paw the air and bark at the moon when something that is of real merit and utility is brought forward for their endorsement. The cost to the country may be little, and strange as it may seem, this is the very reason why they cannot comprehend it. The mere fact of its being a big benefit at little cost raises their suspicion. They immediately start raising obstacles. Once having entrenched themselves against the scheme, they strain every effort to oppose it. Their entire efforts are short-sighted and illogical. So short-sighted, in fact, that they cannot see how illogical they really are. What is wanted is an impartial vision that will see things as they are. Then there is a chance of making them as one would like to have them.